The Cardinals reportedly have not yet made a contract offer to quarterback Kyler Murray. His agent, Eric Burkhart, told the team weeks ago that his opening proposal on Murray's behalf had been pulled. You may recall the manifesto that was posted on social media by Burkhart several weeks ago. And I remember thinking, and I may have written this, I can't quite remember because a lot's happened in the last month or so. There it is. Get out your magnifying glass and try to read that thing. Come on, Eric Burkhart. And Kyler Murray's got to be thinking, don't put my logo on that thing. Anyway, the moves that have happened, the trade of Russell Wilson, the trade of Devontae Adams, the trade of Tyreek Hill, and guys getting paid bigger and bigger money at their various positions. Deshaun Watson traded and given $230 million fully guaranteed over 5 years. That has to make Kyler Murray more inclined for some resolution. Now, not next year. And I've seen that one of the folks who covers the Cardinals, I think it was Kent Summers, Charean, he said, well, you know, the quarterbacks who have gotten their contracts after their third years, they usually get them later than this. That feels like something the team is pointing out, all due respect. Yeah. The world's different now. I don't care when Patrick Mahomes got his contract. I don't care when Josh Allen got his. The world is different now. And if there's a roadblock that the team has already put up in the path of Kyler Murray getting what he thinks he deserves, and there's a huge impasse between the two sides, why linger? Why wait? Let's bring it to a head. And remember, Charean, for a while there when we knew that each day was going to bring us something crazier than the last, I kept saying, hey, Kyler Murray getting traded. That's the next shoe to fall. Kyler Murray getting traded. Kyler Murray getting traded. So with 2 weeks to go until the draft, we're back on Kyler Murray getting traded watch.
Yeah, and Mike, I went back and read exactly what you wrote, and you wrote he believes he has earned a second contract. How much that is likely going to be is going to be a point of contention, or could be a point of contention, and it looks like that's what happened. And it makes sense, Mike, that this is happening now. In my view, it makes sense because if you're Eric Burkhart and you're Kyler Murray and you really want that second contract, of course you want it now, but you want it before the draft, because once the draft comes, most teams have set their depth charts. Most teams are at that point, they're getting ready for the start of the season, and they're set. And so most teams after the draft are going to know what they're going to do at the quarterback position. Maybe there's a team or two that still doesn't have a really good idea about what they're going to do. But his value right now to another team is higher, Mike, than it would be if they wait until after the draft. So I think the logical next step, if the Cardinals don't move on this, is for him to ask for a trade, right, before the draft, which is a couple weeks away. So don't you think that's the next step that's developing here with based on what we've heard today?
Well, it could be moving in that direction. The problem becomes then, what would the Cardinals do if Kyler Murray demands a trade? Right. Would they say, no, we're not trading you. We hold your rights for this year, next year, and we have the fifth-year option that we fully intend to exercise by May 3rd of 2023. So you play for us or you play for no one. And if you're not going to play for us, then you pay back signing bonus money based upon the allocation that would apply to this year and then next year. And he got a signing bonus probably in the range of $30 to $35 million, so he's earned half of it by playing 2 of the 4 years of his contract. He would have to give a lot of that money back. Now, the ultimate hammer that he has is the ability to go play baseball. And I know he just doesn't walk into the starting lineup of the Oakland A's. He doesn't literally say to the manager of the team, put me in, coach, I'm ready to play center field. That doesn't happen. I understand that. But if he decides, I've had enough of this football life, I've had enough of this meat grinder, think about what his good friend Baker Mayfield may be telling him about the importance of taking charge of your career. At one point, Mayfield said in that podcast yesterday, it is an effing snake business. So Kyler Murray's very good friend, maybe his best friend in football, is down on the NFL business. And that's what's playing out as Kyler Murray is trying to get his contract after he saw Baker Mayfield not get his contract. And Mayfield has to be saying privately, the only reason I didn't get my contract is I hurt my shoulder week 2 and I tried to play through it and everybody thinks I suck now. No, my left arm didn't work all year long. And they decided not to pay me. They decided to go get somebody else. So if Kyler hurts his ankle week 2 and has a bad year, maybe he gets thrown overboard for somebody next year. So all these things are swirling around. And I don't know what the right move to make is. But it won't surprise me in an era of player empowerment, Charean, if Kyler Murray decides to stand up and say, hey, folks, I love Cardinals fans. I love the team. I love my teammates. But this is a business. And right now, the realities of this business require me to say, I want out.
Well, and Mike, the problem comes in that what Murray believes he is worth and what the Cardinals believe he is worth are probably two different things. And to me, it always, based on the social media scrub and everything we saw from February on, it felt like to me that this was moving toward a divorce between the Cardinals and Kyler Murray. When I kind of changed my opinion was when the Cardinals gave Cliff Kingsbury that contract extension, because I always thought the two of them were married and that if they were going to keep Kyler long-term, they had to keep Cliff Kingsbury long-term. If they were going to keep Cliff Kingsbury long-term, they had to keep Kyler long-term. Now I'm back to, well, maybe that's not how this is going to happen. So I'm going to propose the same thing I've proposed a couple of other times. Lamar Jackson won't engage with the Ravens. The Ravens want to engage with Lamar Jackson. The Cardinals won't engage with Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray wants to engage with the Cardinals. I mean, it seems to me like it's a match made in heaven. They're similar quarterbacks, similar styles. They've had similar success in the NFL. Let's go straight up, Mike. A Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray trade.
Well, here's the problem, though. What do the Cardinals do? They've got Lamar Jackson for one more year. Then they have to play the franchise tag game next year. I made the point earlier this week, and it finally dawned on me after weeks of thinking about the Lamar Jackson situation. Hey, what are the Ravens going to do next year with the franchise tag? Because non-exclusive is going to be probably in the neighborhood of $34 million for one more year. Exclusive, meaning no one can sign him to an offer sheet. No one can even talk to him. That's going to be the average of the 5 highest quarterback cap numbers for next year. And right now, that would be in the neighborhood of $45 million. So you're looking at $11 million roughly difference the first year. Then that gap gets bigger the second year because your first-year tender goes up by 20% for your second year. So that's going to be a tough decision for the Ravens. The Cardinals are going to inherit that mess if they end up with Lamar Jackson. So I don't know what the Cardinals do at this point. The Cardinals, though, I think this is a situation where they have an old-school mindset where they're in charge, they're the boss, and they'll just do nothing. They'll say no to any trade offers. Kyler Murray plays for us or plays for no one. And even if someone offers them everything, and that's the other thing too, what would you offer to get Kyler Murray? What is he really worth? It could be there's a fundamental divide between what the Cardinals value him as, dollars and cents, what Murray and Eric Burkhardt value him as, dollars and cents, and then is there another team out there? And this is what I used to say about Russell Wilson. If the Seahawks don't view Russell Wilson as a short-lived franchise quarterback and won't deploy him that way, then they should trade him to a team that will. Well, if the Arizona Cardinals don't see Kyler Murray as a $45 to $50 million a year guy, then they should trade him to a team that does. Then the question becomes, is there a team out there that does? Would the Panthers view him that way? Would the Falcons view him that way? Would the Texans view him that way? I don't know. So this is a mess for everybody involved. And I'm fascinated by the fact that he surely talks to Baker Mayfield about these realities, and this is a bad time to be getting advice from Baker Mayfield. If anyone is hoping that the advice is play it out for another year, it'll be fine, because Baker played it out for another year, and it's anything but fine after that year played out.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Mike, and it's a great discussion on how much those two have talked about this, because you have to figure that they have at least had some conversations, because they are tight. And I'm going to be very interested to see where this goes and how far Kyler Murray is willing to take it, because I do believe there is a divide between what the Cardinals believe that Kyler Murray is worth at this point, having never won a playoff game, 2 Pro Bowls, and what Kyler Murray believes he's worth based on all the contracts that we've signed in this offseason. I'm sure he thinks he's closer to the top of that than the Cardinals believe he is. So would the Cardinals be upset, Mike, to move on from Kyler Murray? I mean, I think that's a question too. Like, what do you do at quarterback, I guess, is the first question. They did have, by the way, Malik Willis in for a visit, so maybe that's a possibility that they think they're going to draft a quarterback and try to move on from Kyler Murray and trade him for what they can. But you would think that they could get something of value for Kyler Murray. I don't know that it's going to be as much as for Deshaun Watson, but if the Panthers were willing to put up as much as they did for Deshaun Watson, you would think they'd be willing to make a similar offer for Kyler Murray.
I agree. And I think back to some of the things that emerged earlier this year. Wasn't all that long ago, but feels like it was a really long time ago. The Super Bowl week development of Kyler Murray stripping all Cardinals references from his social media pages. And then the Super Sunday splash report from Chris Mortensen, something that I thought was, frankly, and I have no leg to stand on here. I have no journalism training. I've learned it all through experience through 20 plus years, but I still have a problem with passing along under a cloak of anonymity, biting and harsh opinions about the character of a young man who has done nothing wrong. The stuff that Chris Mortensen passed along with the promise of anonymity, self-centered, finger-pointing, immature. I don't like that now. I didn't like it then. But I think it came from Michael Bidwell. I think it did. I know we're not allowed to guess sources and people get pissed off. But, I really don't care. If I cared about pissing people off, I would have gotten out of this business a long time ago. I think Bidwell was his source, and that's what made him comfortable saying it, because if it's coming from the top of the organization, then it's fair game. So, if that's true, what was going on here? What's going on here is the Cardinals are using old school techniques for dealing with an unhappy player. That's what makes me think this whole thing could blow up in a bad way for everyone. The Cardinals have shown up for a computer fight with a Commodore 64. That's the best metaphor I can think of without having a chance to really think it through. And I probably should have not used that one. But that's my point. They are outdated in their mindset, and it's not going to help them resolve this. It's not, especially because, look, this is a team that has a well-earned reputation from past years of being cheap. As I've pointed out before, there was a story from Mike Silver when he was with Sports Illustrated that on Tuesdays they put padlocks on the Gatorade cabinet so the players can't get free Gatorade on their day off. And that when Robert Griffith, the former safety, signed a free agent contract, they deducted the price of the FedEx envelope from his signing bonus check. That's how careful they were with money. I don't know that mindset has fundamentally changed. Who have they ever given a gigantic market value contract to other than Larry Fitzgerald? Have they ever really given a jaw-dropping, holy crap contract to anyone? I can't think of anyone other than Fitzgerald. I don't know that they're ready to come anywhere close. Yeah, they did. You're right. They did. Sort of. The new money average was high, but it really wasn't all that much different than the deal he already had. But because they added a couple more years and they threw on some funny money at the back end, it drove up the average to $27 million. We'll see if he ultimately gets that money on the back end of the deal.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.